participating for our question and answer section is J. Byron Green, Associate Director for Florida, Georgia, Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. If you have a question, go ahead and come to the microphone, please.
All right, thank you. And let's thank our panelists once again. Great information has been shared. I'm sure that we will have some questions. I'm hoping. Okay, we got one over here.
My name is Attorney John Dew, and my question is directed towards Amir Whitaker with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Where is your office located?
Sure. So our Florida office is in Miami.
Miami?
And our headquarters is in Montgomery.
Okay, and you have a business card?
Yeah, I have my business card, and I'd just like to say it's an honor to hear about you and meet you in person. I've heard great things about you.
Well, thank you. You'll be sorry.
We're based in Miami, Brittany.
The reason I asked that question because since you are with the Poverty Center, my wife was a board member before she passed with Julia Bond. So I know very much about the Poverty Law Center. My question is this. Being a civil rights lawyer, I'm from the old school who realized the law is controlled by the power structure.
Right.
So my role as a civil rights attorney has always been to organize the community to represent itself and don't depend upon lawyers who need to check. And my question is this. In Miami, have you been able to carry on that tradition that I try to do in organizing the community, working with the churches, trying to get the church to institute a program that's not being carried out by the schools as far as Black history is concerned, because history is controlled by the state of Florida.
Right.
So we need to do what the Jewish community is doing as they teach their children as to who they are. Have the Poverty Rights Law Center been working in that effort and trying to help the Black church to be involved?
Right. We work with a series of ministerial alliances and churches. Actually, just last month in Pinellas County, where we got the district, and this is one of the largest districts in the country, over 100,000 students. We work with a coalition of over 30 churches to bring about the changes to suspension and discipline. In Miami, there's a similar coalition called PACT, which is over 40 churches. And we, in our work with them, first of all, they keep us arm's length because we're not a religious organization, so we kind of just serve them and ask how they can support. But usually they vote on their initiatives and just tell us what we can do to support it. But I think what needs to happen in Florida is something similar to what's happened in states like New Jersey and other places where they have the Amistad Act that requires teaching Black history more. So it really needs to happen at the state level. And you know, if you're interested in doing more work in advocacy and that, because something like that, it has to come from the ground up. Enough people have to demand it for it to happen. Because the curriculum state standards, you know, that's where it has to be implemented at.
Yes, sir. Children Defense Fund Freedom Schools, absolutely awesome. I love you guys. I got involved a couple years back trying to form a school for the 50 large guys. We weren't able to bring that together, but I'm so glad that you are operating now in multiple locations. You're not doing high school, is that what I heard?
Not at the moment. Yeah, we're building capacity for it now. So we would love to do a K-12 site, but right now we're just focused on K-8.
And are there spaces available still for, or do you have a application or how?
So the applications are available at BRS and at Shanks Middle School, but right now we're actually getting ready to organize a waiting list. We only have 50 spots at each site. And we only are servicing 15 because of the funding. It costs $285 per child to do this. And so we are just really trying to make sure that we have the funds to do that 100 well, and then hopefully write more grants, generate more funding, perhaps get a great benefactor. There's someone in this room who wants, you can have naming opportunities at our freedom schools so that we can really build capacity to serve more kids. And the reason why we decided to call ourselves the North Florida Freedom Schools is because we want to be able to work with, say, Jefferson County, Madison County. We want to go Wakulla County. We want to go across the Panhandle and really help communities develop their own children's events fund freedom schools. Because of the experience that we've all had going down the Haley Farm, working with CDF, we want to build capacity so that people can start freedom schools within public schools, faith-based institutions, or institutions of higher education across North Florida. Because currently there are only 5 sites: Homestead, Miami, Brevard, Quincy, now Tallahassee. And so we really want to build this movement across the state of Florida.
So you have a waiting list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Webster, my last name. I have a follow-on to the question that Attorney John raised. Part of a follow-up with this conference will be a community public school accountability coalition concept that we are starting in right now by 4 different cities. And the goal will be to have 10 cities, in at least the 10 largest cities in Florida. We got Tampa pretty much ready to roll out, working on Orlando, Jacksonville, and Tallahassee is in the incubator. And the concept is to reestablish the notion that it's not just the public school system, but community public school accountability coalition. And we are working with the FAMU National Alumni Association, and we're also working with the AME Church. And so we're trying to get a series of core organizations together. And we understand you cannot bring everybody to the table in the planning process. And so whenever we start something, they say, well, are you going to include me? We would hope it's going to be the community at some point. But you cannot discuss a proposition, a strategy with the 2,000 people in the room. So we're starting with those organizations, we're starting with those cities, and when we develop those, we're going to roll it out to the entire state. But one of the going forward, when we leave here Sunday, going forward, we already got those 4 cities already rolling out. And there's another concept. I was very excited about what CDF is doing. I like acronyms, and I was thinking about one I call EPIC. EPOC. Did I spell correctly? And grammarians in here. At every point of contact, you are either helping a child or hurting that child. So there is no principle of neutrality. And so this is going to be more of a concept than a promotion. The barbershop, beauty salon, wherever you go, every point of contact, help a child. And to start spreading that as a notion, as a movement, the EPIC movement, every point of contact, help a child. Every point of contact, wherever you are, playground, whatever you're doing, in the movie theater, if you can start thinking about that, start internalizing that if you pass the kid on the street, whatever, encouraging word, whatever, every point of contact, help that child. So those are the kind of things that start a movement in your mind. As Dr. Denard said, you got to start thinking right first, and then you can start moving in the right direction. So we are starting a coalition, but as a concept, every point of contact, help.
All right. Okay. No more questions. Well, I did want to make 1 or 2 comments real quickly. Throughout the day, one of the messages that I heard is, well, I just made a note here. It starts with policy. And I was thinking about some of the things that Dr. Mayo was mentioning. We probably need to really start thinking about how do we start placing more people into those policy roles, more people that look like us, that care about the things that we care about. Because the policy is where it all starts. And so how do we start to develop more professionals going into that line of work? Because I think that's where we start to lose out. You know, you're starting out behind. Because if you're not there helping to shape the policy, then it makes the fight just that much harder. One of the other things that I did realize too is that, you know, we talk about where we are. We talk about where we've been. We've talked about a lot of different aspects of trying to make the situation better. But I also look at the amount of work that is being done just to keep us in the game where we are. This is a tremendous effort, and thanks to people like the folks we have on this panel that are trying and that are working very hard. I think all of you are to be commended as well. But it takes a whole lot of effort just to keep us where we are. Imagine where we would be without the work of the people that you've seen today. So we really appreciate that. And lastly, the question was asked during lunch. You know, how much do we love our kids? And I think one of the answers we see is manifested in what Kawachi, you gotta give me your Keely, and also Crystal. I used to work with Crystal, full disclosure. Great person, great visionary and creative effort that they put forth. And I think it takes more of these efforts. So how much do we love our kids? I think you got one example right there. So anyway, thank you all.
You see, we started this morning to talk about time, and we are right on time. I know you thought we were going to be off, and I would say a conference time crying, but we did not be off schedule. We thank you so much for coming. You know, this Black Brains Matters too was taken from that theme of Black Lives Matter. And you know, that theme is all about, it's not so much as an organization, it's really about a movement that each individual can engage in. You know, you don't see this charismatic leader with the Black Lives Matter too, but they're moving and they're making their point. You know, they don't need a leader necessarily because they talk about leaders may sell out, or they may be co-opted, or they may become self-centered. The point is that each of us can do something. We do have an organization here, and that's great and that's fine. And we know that Joe's going to do everything he said he's going to do, and more. But you don't have to wait for Dr. Webster. You can do it. You can do something about this education disparities that you all know very well today. We know that you know. It's a matter of will you go ahead and take some extra steps to say enough is enough and do something to address the disparities in education that we learned about, heard about, and was reminded about today. So with that, you all, you've been a wonderful, wonderful audience. There is a reception at 5:30, 6 o'clock at the FAMU Black Archives. You know what that is, on campus. We want to invite each and every one of you to please come by and have some refreshments with us, and let us, again, continue to dialogue. If there's anything else, any other burning question?
Not a question, but let's give Sharon a nice round of applause for doing a fantastic job. She did that under duress. She had some issues, but she working the kinks out, and so she's moving right along, so I appreciate that. She had a little backache, that's all. And
I don't really walk like this.
but she did a fantastic job in pain. Secondly, any presenters still here, we just please raise your hand, stand where you are, presenters, moderators, anyone. But we truly appreciate everyone. Number 3 in your program, please look at the sponsors. We could not be here without the sponsors. And your evaluation, make sure you complete them, turn them in today or no later than tomorrow before you leave. You should have 2 different days of evaluation. That's critical so we can see what you think about the conference and we can make it better next year. Reception tonight, 6 to 8, 8:30 at the FAMU Archives. If you don't know how to get there, we can help you with transportation to make sure you get there. Okay? Again, thank everybody, thank the panel, and thank you very much.